was a kid, Alexander the Great was like Jesse James, Wild Bill Hickok, but even bigger.
It is a brutal landscape, and it's one that he's going to have to navigate.
I think it is the biggest epic part that could be wished on anyone.
He had to go through a fire. He put it in his mind that I am going to be Alexander.
It's going to be a lot of blood. It's going to be a lot of blood. It's going to be a lot of lives lost.
The story of Alexander the Great is one of the most extraordinary in all history. He conquered almost the entire known world before the age of 25, and he did it on foot and on horseback. It has been Oscar-winning filmmaker Oliver Stone's lifelong ambition to bring Alexander's story to the silver screen.
Well, Alexander has been a character in my imagination since I was a child. Alexander was cool. He was the guy, you know, die young and leave a good-looking corpse, you know, what else? And conquer the world besides. What else is there? There's nothing better. And the beauty of Alexander is he won.
Stone has chosen 28-year-old Irish heartthrob Colin Farrell to fill perhaps the biggest boots in history. Over the next 3 months, Colin will have to give up his superstar lifestyle and prepare for one of the toughest challenges of his career. He must transform himself from pin-up actor to one of the greatest conquerors to walk the face of the earth.
I felt very comfortable with him from the screen test. I felt like he's got it. He's got the right rocks Irish, a little bit rough, like the Macedonians, but he's poetic in his speech patterns, if you allow him to be. So what he says has got a beauty. It's got a nice voice, and that's very important.
Alexander was right in there in the thick of it, you know. He was right in there in the front line. I mean, the equivalent today would be, you know, to see George W. walking down a street in Baghdad with an AK-47.
Alexander is a controversial figure. To some, he was a military genius and empire builder. To others, he was a bloodthirsty monster. As Colin begins his journey, Alexander is still a mystery.
I would give every material thing I have to see him walk 5 yards. Just to see him walk 5 yards from 20. I would give every material possession I have just to get a look at how he holds himself and just a glimpse at his eyes. That's all, 5 yards.
In early July 2003, Colin moves to an isolated trailer in the mountains outside Los Angeles to clear his head and begin the long process of becoming Alexander.
I need primarily to stay out of trouble, to stay away from mischief, which I get myself into. Nothing big, but I just like to have a good time. I don't know how to do this job. I don't know how to prepare for it. It's monumental. It's huge. It's 10 years of Oliver Stone's life. It's 2,300 years of history. And, you know, I need space. I need to be on my own. I need to be able to read. I need to be able to work out. I need to be able to think. I need to be able to even self-indulgently contemplate what I have to do, what's ahead of me.
For Colin, stage one is a grueling program of physical training. Alexander was an outstanding warrior, rider, and swordsman. To be the best, Colin will be trained by the best. First off, there's former US Marine and military expert Captain Dale Dye.
I'm going to unscrew his Irish head and pour all of the me that almost every actor is sort of imbued with. I'm going to pour that out and teach him that the sun does not rise and set on his ass.
Weapons and martial arts specialist Julia Rupp-Calvis.
We are going to make Colin uncomfortable. We are going to make the soldiers in the Macedonian army uncomfortable. Uncomfortable doesn't kill you. That's the big lesson.
Horse trainer and crack rider Freddie Joe Farnsworth.
I'm not here to teach him how to be an actor. I'm here to teach him how to be Alexander on horseback. That's a big plate to fill, and he's got a long ways to go.
There's no one that was there It's unfortunate I can't meet someone and go, you sat and had a point with him. What was he like? Was he a nice guy? Was he funny? Was he dull? Was he focused? Was he in the conversation, or did he always stay outside? There's no one I can ask that to.
On the other side of the world is Colin's fourth mentor, the historical advisor to the movie, Professor Robin Lane Fox from Oxford University. Oliver Stone wants Colin to know about Alexander's history in order to understand his character.
To be Alexander, you have to know Alexander. The history is crucial. It's the difference between our own rather limited imaginations and an unimaginable world of action, which we have to portray. I think it is the biggest epic part that could be wished on anyone. And I don't envy Colin the task.
But before Colin can get to grips with the history, his three American mentors have 6 weeks to give this 21st century movie star the kind of raw physical and military training the young Alexander received over 2,000 years ago.
Don't let him get away. Good. Keep head up.
Colin Farrell is in stage 1 of training for the most physically and emotionally challenging role of his career. Over the coming weeks, he must master the art of ancient warfare.
I'm a sucker for a challenge. I always have been. I love a good challenge. I love to be up against it.
Mart!
There was a brutalness to the time and the period. What you have to understand is this is not standing back at several hundred yards and firing a rifle at a person. If you were going to kill a person in those days, you did it by looking in his eyeballs. You did it by rending his body apart. You did it by impaling him on a sharp, pointy object.
Every day, Colin is drilled in how to handle the weapons that Alexander would have used, in particular, his swords.
The coppice has a curve to it, which really makes it a hacker and a devastating weapon. As the movement of the blade, you have an extra little oomph to get that into the bow and get that into the center body mass. What I want you to do is to put all of your strength to look as effective as possible. Just whack it. Beautiful.
Sure.
That's what I'm saying. These do not fire blanks. Mart! 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 3.
In addition to his skill with weaponry, Alexander learnt to ride almost as soon as he could walk. And in his day, men rode bareback.
Where Alexander had 20 years to master, I have to get Colin to master somewhat of that in 5 to 6 weeks, which is not an easy task. He's got a lot of work to do. If you sit there and start doing that, what are you starting doing?
All over the place.
And then you're trying to hang on. Whoa, good. Now just walk up to him slowly, walk, walk, walk. Try to find that rhythm.
I'm gonna nappy rush.
Yeah, good. Good.
You know, I'm so sore, but you feel a different way. And then you end up thinking a different way. You end up thinking, I feel like this. Why do I feel like this? I have to feel like this. I must feel like this because I have to get used to feeling like this, because then I have to be able to do this for longer and not feel like this.
We need to develop his physical skills along with the qualities of Alexander. Those things that are requirements for a brilliant field commander. That's it.
Well, in this first phase of training, when I'm getting broken in by these fellas, you know, I'm using muscles I've never used before. The ultimate goal is to make all this second nature. You know, it has to be second nature. It can't be as a result of a thought process. There's too much going on. Those little things, just the physical aspect even now, and the training, and the sword playing, and the little bits of reading that I'm doing and trying to find different paragraphs in different books, is helping a little bit. Me, just the activity of going forward is the thing, you know.
You are looking at the first few turns of unscrewing his head and getting him out of thinking as an actor and now starting to think as a field marshal.
Attaboy.
Now bring him up. There you go. Good.
By the time Colin leaves the ranch, he must be ready for the next stage of his transformation into Alexander. He must become a general, capable of leading hundreds of men. In 2 weeks' time, Colin will be moving to a boot camp in Morocco, where he will take command of his troops.
He needs to be able to teach them when we get to Morocco.